Another day, another AI automation. So today I'm going to specifically be looking at this Strava automation that is working now, although it's still being improved. So we got my Strava account here, and from the last week, we see a bunch of AI images. And if we scroll down, for each of these activities, I'm not sure if I'm really liking this, to be honest, because my account is starting to look more fake, but it was a cool experiment. And I'm going to continue with it a little bit, and then we'll see. The point is that during this week, I didn't need to open the Strava app, although I still did like all the time to check if it was working, but actually it turned out, except for like Monday, Tuesday, some debugging, everything was actually working. So in like principle, I didn't need to open the Strava app. Everything here came automatically. So I train, use my watch, track the workout. And then when it's finished, I just stop it on the watch and that's it. Don't need to do anything else. It automatically syncs with my phone, uploads it to Strava in the background. This is like already existing. Then my automation kicks in. My system, which is like through OpenClaw, gets notified that there's a new Strava activity. And then it already knows what my training plan is for the week. So it kind of knows what to expect, but I'm not always going to follow the plan perfectly. And its task is to update some of the data to kind of add swag to the Strava activity. So it will put like a title, description. This is actually important because the watch doesn't track correctly on the indoor treadmill. So I use this as a kind of source of truth for what I actually did. It generates these images. As I said, it also, I like mute the activity as a thing on Strava where it's public, but it doesn't appear in people's feeds unless they go on my profile, which is just what I prefer for some of these indoor activities. And then it also adds this to the title to indicate that it's muted, some rules that I prefer. And you'll see it has generated all these images in a similar style and all of these. So this one did not follow the training program. So here it didn't know what to do. So I think I did this one manually. But I've now improved the system for next week, so hopefully it should be smarter. So it worked this week. What I've changed for next week, which I'm excited to test, I've generalized the system more. So now, because this was kind of programmed with quite strict rules for what I was supposed to do this week. For next week, I've given it my training plan, but it's much less strict rules, and instead it's just a heuristic. Like, hey, it has some like default rules about for example, muting the indoor activities because I always want to do this. But for what it should set as a title and description and image generation and everything, there's no solid rules. I've just told it, it's gotten like 2 reference images of me for how I look like. I've told it if there's no images, then generate one. And then I've told it, hey, by the way, if it's week 10 between these dates, then here's Henrik's training plan for this week. So when you get an activity in, look at it, compare it to the training plan, look if you think it's the same activity. I've asked it to determine a certain confidence score, and if that's above the threshold, then it will do it automatically. But if it's uncertain, it'll text me instead. It'll say, hey, for this activity, I'm not so sure. I think maybe it's this or this, but I don't know. So it asks for my feedback. In Telegram, I'm going to get a message, and there's like 2 options where I can just literally click the button, or I can like write my own custom feedback for what it should do. And then it should hopefully just wait until I respond, no matter if that's instant or in a couple hours. And then once I do that, instantly continue. Hopefully. And then I also want to sometimes use actually my own images and not just this default AI stuff. And usually it'll be during a Strava activity, during a workout, you take some picture that you know you want to use when you post it on Strava. But since the activity gets posted automatically, you have to go into the app at some point after the workout and also upload the image. This is something I've been wanting to find a workaround for a long time, but it was like a little bit tricky before. It's easier now. What I've set up now is that I can just at any time take any image or video. No, videos don't work, but any image and just send it to my OpenClaw agent. I'll just like text it on Telegram, and I can say either to apply the image to an existing workout, or I can say like, hey, I'm doing a run right now. Use this image when the run uploads. Or I can even say like, hey, use this image for the session tomorrow or something. But usually it'll be during a workout. You'll take one image or multiple ones, and you'll be like, hey, I want to use this on my workout post, but the workout isn't ready yet, so you can't really do it ahead of time. You have to wait for the workout to get uploaded to Strava and then upload the image. And since it appears in, this is nerding out on Strava, but since the activity appears in people's feeds instantly once it uploads automatically, at least in my setup, I think it's normal. Then initially it'll appear with like no swag. It'll have like just a default title, no description, no images, so it's boring. So I want to make sure the swag is applied instantly, even if I'm not on my phone. That's why I wanted to decide it ahead of time and have the agent reason about it in real time. So now it knows my training plan. It knows, I've also given it some reference from how I did it this week, so it knows how I usually uh, swag my activities with the title and description and stuff. But I've told it it's only a heuristic, it's only for reference, but I've encouraged it to make its own decisions. Um, and now if I send images on Telegram at any time, it'll just like save it to this temporary directory with like as like a Strava inbox for like any instructions for the Strava agent, so that when it actually gets notified that a new activity has been uploaded, it checks this inbox for any textual instructions or images it's been provided. It checks if that is probably the same activity as the one that just got uploaded. And if so, it should just use that automatically. So it just remains to actually test it because I've just prompted it into existence. I did one test, but it hasn't been fully tested in practice. So that'll be this week. I'll try today, leave one workout. I'm not going to do anything, just let it upload. It should understand what it is from my plan, training plan, because I'm just following the training plan, generate an AI image. But I've given it much more creative freedom this week because it's all looks the same. And then secondly, I'm going to try one session. I'll send it like an image, take a photo during the session, send it that and tell it to use that photo instead. And hopefully that should work instead. Will be exciting to test it. And yeah, this just goes through OpenClaw, and then in order for the OpenClaw to know when it updates, Strava has this function for sending webhooks whenever stuff is created or edited on their platform. So I just have my OpenClaw instance serving, I don't even know the technical details too well. I think it has a port open for a webhook listener that Strava can send a notification to, which is always on, hopefully authenticated with some token. And that when that notification is received by my system, it triggers a kind of sub agent to run. So a part of the process is kind of programmatic. For example, the image upload is like a browser automation as a script, but a lot of the process is more just like a natural language list of instructions, which like an AI agent, essentially an LLM, kind of runs through and follows the steps in natural language. But it's pretty deterministic because the scope is quite concise and the instructions are clear. So hopefully it works.